All right, so today we are going to talk about the 5 types of people who I believe should think twice before deciding to plan with Notion. It's the beginning of the year, and we're all trying to get this planning thing right for ultimate productivity. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on certain people who may not benefit from this sort of setup for their planning. Let's get into it. So first of all, I think Notion is amazing. I fell in love with Notion last year, and I was just completely taken away with what this can do. Notion can do everything. It's a great one-stop place for you to kind of put all of your information, and I really love it because it's also a one-stop place for you to search for all of your information, kind of like a wiki. A lot of people talk about it like a second brain. So why would somebody not like Notion? Well, I'm going to get into that in a second. But first, I want to explain some of the features, and that would help me explain why I think those features are not best for certain people. First, I think Notion is amazing for teams and for businesses that have lots of different employees. So just like it says here, every team, everyone can log in and see the information that you want them to see. So it's really great for coordinating that information and keeping track of the entire team's productivity. Another group that I have found Notion to be very popular amongst is people who are computer experts, coding people. That's not me. I am your average millennial, so I definitely am computer savvy, but I'm not computer super savvy. So one of the things I love about Notion is every time you make a page for any notes, so you might have a title for the page, and then you have content. You can choose what sort of content that is, and then you can tag the content with metadata. And this is so awesome because not only can you search by the metadata, you can then categorize by the metadata and then do so many awesome things from there. As you see here, this is example from their homepage. You can make some meeting notes, right? Well, if you make different line items, this one page can then be transformed into a database, and you can see the line items in a database. You could tag them with these dates, as you see here. So instead of looking at it in this list view, you can then click a button. At the click of a button, you then have a calendar or a Kanban board. It is just way too cool. It's awesome. The other thing is there are levels to this. As you see, there's different items listed here, but each item that's listed, so it says stand up 5/11/2023. You click on that, and then you have a whole page about stand up. And so that's where you can put the details of whatever that is, or you can put notes or links or whatever. But by making it a page, it's very clean to look at it right now, unless you choose to click on it for those details. So everything has micro levels that you can dive deeper into, which I love because that's how my brain works. And finally, the last thing I'm going to say is it's completely customizable. And I think that is the big sell for me, because that's just like my favorite thing, is to be able to just make it my own and decorate it and just make it visually appealing and aesthetic for the way I want to experience my planning. So, of course, why would anybody not want to do that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so Notion has these templates that can kind of get you started, and it's great if you're a student or a teacher or someone that has like a set schedule. And I think this is, really fun and a quick, easy way to get started. But people like myself, we don't do templates. We'll start with a template, but I'm not ending on a template. Like, that's just not going to happen. It's going to be mine. I'm going to customize it. And there are so many cool templates out there, and there's so many aesthetic templates that people have that you can download. But yeah, that is just not me. And so that brings me to the first category of people that should not, I repeat, should not use Notion for planning. I'm not saying not use Notion, but not use Notion for planning. That group is creatives. So this is going to be a quick, super quick sneak peek into my Notion, and I just want to show you that there are so many different colors and images and GIFs and ways that you can customize your Notion. That, I mean, clearly you can be here all day, and there's two different levels or two different types of customization. There's the functionality customization, and then there is the aesthetic customization. And I think both were, something that I definitely became absorbed into. And I was just really excited about, okay, I'm going to make this perfect for me. And I want it to work for my day. So, for example, I had it so I had like my morning routine right at the beginning. And you can kind of click on this and say, okay, well, I'm going to, do some of my habits, and that linked to another page of a habit tracker. You could click on your devotionals, and this is where I was keeping track of which scriptures I was reading. So you could make it work for you. And I love that. But as you can also understand, this is something that you can keep fixing and tweaking and adding to and making better. The other part is the aesthetic creative part. The aesthetic portion is another thing that you can be here all day, adding the right images and then changing the images. In my mind, I was like, oh, and I'll change them out each month, kind of like you do with like a monthly spread. And that also helped me understand, actually, my monthly spreads in paper planners were probably another downfall, because I became in love with the process of setting it up, the visuals, adding the tape, adding the stickers, decorating, and then it's like, okay, what about using it? What about being productive, right? So I think that's a major issue for a lot of people who are really in love with just making it look pretty. When are you actually using it? And, a lot of people say you want to make sure that you're working on your business, not in your business. Well, this is the flip of that, right? So this is the opposite. You want to make sure that you're working in your planner, not on your planner. For number 2, I'm going to say work laptops. If you have a job that you have company furnished laptops or equipment that you're supposed to use during the day, and you're not going to be able to have Notion up on the same screen or computer during the day, I don't think you're going to have the same experience as people who are working from their own device all day. I think this also applies to people who have a job that does not put them in front of a computer screen during the day. If you think about the premise of having a second brain, if you're not able to put that information into the second brain during multiple points during the day, it becomes something that you have to do twice. You have to write it down somewhere, and then you have to put it back into Notion. And who wants to do that? Which brings me to my next point, number 3, iPad girlies. So if you use an iPad a lot or other mobile devices, this doesn't translate well. Like, it is compatible, but I'm using this as an example. So my stationery section at the bottom of my homepage has these beautiful Turner Classic Movie GIFs, but they took forever to load and they don't show up the same. Just like websites show up differently on mobile as they do on desktop. And it's like, if you're spending all this time to customize it and make it amazing, make it aesthetic, and then it looks crazy or it takes forever to load. So I do not recommend it for people like myself who are all about the iPad or are on the go and they need good signal with good speed throughout the day to document all this information on their cell phone. On to number 4, perfectionist. So as I mentioned before, you should not be spending all of your time working on your planner when you could be working in it and becoming more productive. So this is an example of my habit tracker. So my habit tracker from last year, Q1, I spent forever making this, awesome banner, which I loved. It had like the perfect dimensions and all these things to inspire me. So that kind of goes back to the whole aesthetic part is a little time consuming. If really my point is to become more productive. It's not that there's a problem wasting time on the aesthetics if it makes you happy, but the whole point is I'm planning to become more productive, and this was counterproductive to make such a cute little dashboard on here. And then I built this habit tracker. So the habit tracker, you can't just type in, okay, I want only this and this and this to happen, because some things Notion has limited abilities. So you have to figure out a formula. So as you see over here, we have these different columns. So I have these check boxes, and then I have the date, and then I have a formula to calculate which week of the year, so I could have it filtered so that only this week would show up on my homepage. Perfectionist tendencies, right? And I am not a perfectionist at all. But in order to get it to appear the way I want it to, there are so many workarounds out there, but you have to look them up, you have to apply them. It's just not the best tool for people who want it to be just so. So keep that in mind. And then the opposite side of the same coin, number 5, this is not the best planning tool for procrastinators. You can find so many distractions inside Notion and not get what you need to get done. Just like I already explained, if your whole goal is to be highly productive and you are a procrastinator, you will find more things to dive into, more things to perfect, more things to make beautiful, and not get what you need to get done. And we're all about bringing things to fruition. We're all about completing things and achieving goals here. So at Living for the Culture, this was not going to work. So I had to let Notion go. Now, I'm not going to say I'm going to let it go completely, but I had to let it go for planning. So maybe just a little Notion. In something like my budget managing, okay, I'm doing that every 2 weeks. Whereas I don't need to have access to it multiple times throughout the day. Second brain, it's just way too much. I don't think that's the best plan for me, but who knows? I have found some other things that work, so maybe I'll make another video about things that are working for me. If you'd like to see that or anything else I talked about, let me know, and please like and subscribe so you can catch those. Until next time, thanks for watching.